I don't like Souls-likes. I play games for fun, not to be stressed out. It's probably why I mainly play stupid Nintendo games. It's mostly about fun and engaging gameplay rather than relying solely on difficulty and excluding those who can't simply because you can't. That's an oversimplification of the Souls community, but when you're pissed about the potential of accessibility options coming to games you like when you personally never use those optional options, it creates a huge barrier for noobs like me. But Wo Long Fallen Dynasty is different, and going into this game, I was determined to find out why the heck y'all like hard games so much. Hasn't life been hard enough? Hello world and all who inhabit it, it is I, the Great Seiran, and video games are a sport. I mean, it has to be the way I'm IRL sweating playing Fallen Dynasty. This game is hard. Not impossible, but hard. I'm okay with difficulty in games, even though I don't usually opt in for hard mode. But when difficulty is the only thing going for your game, it kind of falls flat for me. Like Metro Prime is a good game that's hard. Underneath the difficulty is a great experience. That's fine. Souls games are always marketed to me as games that are only good because they are hard, and that's lame to me. Elden Ring might be the exception. I actually hear other things good about that game besides the difficulty. Wo Long falls into the category of a decent game with great combat that is hard. The difficulty actually enhances the other elements of the game. In general, I like it, but there are some things you only begin to notice as a new player, and though this isn't a full review of Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, I think this game is important for anyone like me who's turned off by the Souls genre but wants to give it a fair shake. Let's start with the best part about Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, the combat. Holy schmoly, this combat is great. I thought Souls games were all slow with delayed button presses, but apparently Wo Long is different. From what people have told me, it's closer to Sekiro or Nioh than Elden Ring and Bloodborne. That's why those are often referred to as Soulsborns. I don't care to go down that rabbit hole, I just wanted to clarify that there is a difference. There are a bunch of weapons to use that fit your playstyle. During the demo, I used twin swords and really liked that style of gameplay over something like a hammer or a greatsword. This combat is all about parrying. I like to parry, then do chip damage, so a regular sword or a twin halberds works for me. Parrying depletes enemy stamina, and once that's all gone, it allows for a really nice and stylized finisher that feels pretty rewarding and is different per weapon. If you like Souls games with more deliberate actions and have patience, then you might like the heavier weapons. I'm not a patient gamer, so I parry, get some quick hits in, reset, repeat. That won't work as well for all enemies, and you do have to be paying attention to when enemies strike in the middle of your combo, but that's what makes this game enjoyable for me. This game has a really interesting leveling system. Every mission starts your morale at 0, and as you defeat enemies, you raise your morale, and as they defeat you, they reset your morale. There are ways to stop your morale from hitting 0 though. You need to find these battle flags across the level and raise them. The more flags you raise, the higher your base morale, aka your fortitude, gets. So when a rampaging boar from Wild Hearts makes its way into your game and starts attacking, you won't have to start all the way over when you die. All enemies, and I mean all enemies, can drop your morale with this red critical hit thing. It's different depending on the enemy, so you have to time the parry just right each time. If you get hit by it, not only do you take massive damage, you also lose a full morale point. It's not super hard to raise your morale, but it's way easier to get it knocked down. I found a way to cheese this though. See, every time you rest at a flag, it resets the enemies, but it doesn't reset your morale. I was having a tough time with the boss, so I made 8 laps killing enemies so that I can get my morale high enough for the fight to be a breeze. Killing enemies gets you some morale, but stealth hits get you a lot of morale. Look how much morale I get for this stealth hit versus just straight up killing this soldier. Enemy types are kind of the same throughout, but I'm not too upset by that. I don't know if I'll complete this game, but if the rest of the game is like the first few hours, I won't be upset at all because 1, this game is awesome, and 2, the enemies and gameplay loop are difficult and varied enough to keep you coming back to master it. Another way you can make this game easier on yourself is raising your actual player level. There are 5 virtues, and dumping points into whichever ones you like help you level up. Right now I'm focusing on water and wood since water has stealth advantages and wood has a really cool lightning offensive that I want to use in battle. Of course I have other elements, but these 2 are my main. As a new player, the combat is difficult and challenging, but it's not as much of a turnoff as other Souls games have looked. It can be scary to dump $60 or $70 in a game just to try it, but luckily this was day 1 on Game Pass, so if you're a gameplay person, then I'd give it a wiggle. The world in this game is pretty cool. It's all based off Chinese mythology and powerful warriors from their history. It's kind of weird that Wild Hearts has very similar monsters, but I guess it's because they're both based off the same thing and both made by Koei Tecmo and both have performance issues, which we'll get into later. I don't know, fighting that boar boss looked just like the boar in Wild Hearts. Aside from that, the world is pretty meh. Different and branching paths that get you to the same destination, but there are rewards in exploring, like better gear, more enemies to kill to raise your morale, and more flags to strengthen your fortitude. Side note, the gear and loot system is trash. I don't absolutely hate it, and I'm sure someone who likes building characters and the nuance in the stats would love this, but I don't. Just give me some armor I can level up or something, I don't know. At this point, I just changed to whatever has more arrows. Between this, Hogwarts Legacy, and the upcoming Suicide Squad, I'm pretty much over this stat-based loot system and just want regular leveling up back. attack. Traversing the world is cool. Your character moves at a fast pace, so gameplay in between combat doesn't feel slow. There aren't any puzzles per se, but there is exploration, which itself solves the puzzle of how to get this thing you saw over there but can't get from here, if that makes sense. I don't mind it. I'm too dumb for most in-game puzzles nowadays anyway. During missions, they give you an AI partner, and I just want to say how I appreciate how smart they are. They don't just run off and start fighting, messing up your potential stealth attack. They wait for you to take the lead and are mostly useless besides being fodder. The world is super interactive with other real players though. I'm constantly seeing where they've fallen and getting notifications that I've avenged them and unlocking achievements for it. Its true multiplayer aspect lies in the co-op, which I think is the best way to play this game. Multiplayer doesn't always make a game better, but it does for this one. It can be a bit wonky setting it up, but once you're in multiplayer, you can play the entire game with a partner. Progress is connected to the host game, so when my streamer friend Ayo over on twitch.tv/Ayo hopped into my game, I got all the progress. Items, gear, and character level progression carries over though. And since Ayo was definitely higher level than me, his character was balanced and scaled down to me, so he didn't one-shot everything, but the gears and item he got were higher level than what I got. Apparently all Souls games have co-op/PvP. Performance is an issue with this game. I'm playing the Xbox Store version on PC. I have an RTX 3060 and Ryzen 5 5600G and have my game set to 1080p and the frame set to 120 FPS. Besides that, there's basically no game customization in the PC version of Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Basically, there's a toggle for the preference of graphics quality or frame rate, something we normally see on consoles. It's as if they ported the PS5 version over to PC. My game looks ugly and has massive frame rate stutters and drops, sometimes even in combat. When set to 120 FPS, I'm hovering around 90 and dropping as low as 70. When I set it to 60 FPS, I'm at 60, dropping as low as 42 frames per second. It's clearly not my hardware, as the 3060 is very capable, especially when given the options to adjust the graphical settings. It's just very disappointing. I normally play games on console since they're usually more optimized, but it seems like the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S versions are having the same issues. Of course, the devs issued an apology and promise of a patch down the road. Whippy. It just sucks that gamers are being asked to pay $60 or $70 at launch for a game that barely works. It's like they just ship it out the door to meet a deadline, apologize, and then patch it later down the road, sometimes weeks or even months later. Again, my buddy Ayo had no performance issues, but I'm certain it's because his 3080 just brute forced through the issues. I have a 3060 and can touch 100 FPS when this title acts right, so I'm sure his 3080 is coasting at 120 frames or more. Also, mouse and keyboard just doesn't work on the PC version. I don't play games that way, but a lot of my friends do and were upset by that. Aside from all these blemishes, I think that Wolong Fallen Dynasty is a fantastic game. I recommend it since it's on Game Pass, and if you're new to the Souls genre, this feels very beginner friendly. If you're looking to buy this game, I'd say it's worth the full $60 if they push out a patch. If a month goes by and we're still having the same performance issues, I'd wait on a sale. If you have any questions about Wolong or anything else, I'll be down in the comments below, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and check out some of my full reviews on games like Hogwarts Legacy or Forspoken. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.